Hey everybody, and welcome back again to Wish You Were Beer, a weekly beer review show where we're trying new beers, tasting beers, checking beers in, and occasionally on a good show, getting a lot of folks involved and having time to talk to people about their beer or about their brewery. I'm Daniel, this is Tiffany. As always, that's Phil. Make sure you go down to the comment section or the about section. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, follow us on Untappd. Check out Beer Drop and Tavour. We use both of those to get a lot of our beers. And as always,
or just, hey, also we have an Instagram.
Oh yeah, we do have an Instagram. I apologize.
It's literally my only job.
I wouldn't go that far. So just make sure you share it with your friends. If you know anybody who likes beer or likes talking about beer or likes making fun of people that like beer, it's a great show no matter what you do. So like I said, I'm Daniel, Tiffany. That's Phil. Phil, where are you at right now?
Can you hear me?
Well, it's hard to hear over the children screaming.
Guys, I'm so sorry about this, but you guys know I've been traveling, and so I'm in a household net right now with toddlers, and so I was like, I got to get out of this house because it's going to be so loud because the toddlers are just going to be screaming in the house. Like, I don't know if you heard last week, they were screaming. So then this week, I'm like, I'm going to go outside, get a cool brick backdrop. I'll be under the shades. I won't sweat too much. I'll be good. I step outside. I get the whole setup, which takes, like 20 minutes to get this all set up. All of a sudden I hear, cannonball! And this kid jumps into a pool. And I go, oh, no.
So you're telling me you're going to be on mute a lot tonight?
I'll be on mute a lot tonight. So unless you want to hear the screaming summertime sounds. But yes, I'll be going in and out of mute a lot tonight. So I apologize ahead of time, but happy Pride, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Pride. Like we've been pitching it all week. This is our Pride episode. So we're going to be celebrating some beers from the Sam Adams Queer Beer Box. So we've been checking those in throughout the week. We've done some short videos on the ones that we have all had. So go to our YouTube channel, check out the short videos we had. We're going to be going through the whole box eventually. We're not quite there yet. We still have a couple of left.
It's a lot of beers to drink, and they did it all in one day. They did all of them. It was like 6 to 8 hours, but I mean, it's taken us all week.
Yeah.
And we're still not through them. So kudos to people who actually participated.
Correct.
I know. We kept telling everyone that we were going to review them all up until the show. And then you guys sent me a few, I sent you a few, and then I was like, I don't think we're going to make it.
I don't think we're going to make it at all.
I think we still have like 3 left.
I think we have 3 or 4 left. Yeah.
But on the plus side, we're doing 2 tonight. So.
Right. So.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But we have 3 more after these 2.
God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, so we're not too bad. We'll keep posting them. We'll keep doing them. We'll finish the box for sure.
Tomorrow, I'm going to take the afternoon off. I'm going to change my shirt 3 different times and film all 3 of them. So it'll look like it's 3 separate.
You're not going to change your shirt on camera, so everybody relax.
Oh, yeah, no. I meant so you don't know it's the same day, but it's probably going to be the same day.
I think I'm looking forward to that last one after you've had the 2 prior, because then we're getting 2 Beer Tiffany, which is
my favorite.
That's never
is our favorite.
I'm still waiting for Rails In to send us a beer, but no doubt.
They were going to name a beer after me. Yeah. They were going to name it 2 Beer Tiffany.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm going to be visiting them, so I will let you. I will attack them and make it happen.
Tell them to send me a hat. It's not that hard. So we've got a really busy show tonight. We've got a lot going on. In theory. So everything's going to be a little out of ordinary. If you've been following us for a while, the show is going to be a little bit discombobulated from how we normally do it.
Big word.
So Phil, we actually have our first guest coming on right now because he's got some time where he needs to be out of here at a specific time. Phil, would you like to introduce him since you two know each other?
Chris and I have some mutual friends, and so I was watching the Queer Beer Festival, and he popped on, and I was like, I think I know him. And so I was happy to see his brewery was open. So this is Chris Hartley. He's from Provincetown Brewing Company, and we're going to be drinking one of his beers tonight. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, guys. Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you.
Chris, we know it's all-star night, so we're gonna let you go as quickly as possible. I don't even want to be here right now.
You know, the gays love their drag race. Yeah.
I'm actually extremely jealous. Like, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, we've got drag queens, we've got a host. We've got a brewery full of gays right now. So
that is also the best band name ever created. Brewery full of gays.
That's probably the best party ever.
So Chris, tell us.
up.
Yeah, I know. We're not that far, actually. We could make that hike.
It's a bit of a drive.
Yeah.
So Chris, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself,
Your brewery,
kind of how you got started. Like, give us the rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been coming up to Provincetown for about 10 years now. I love Provincetown. The first time I came here, I fell in love. I've always been a really big beer enthusiast, especially craft beer. And I came up here and wanted, asked my buddies to go to the brewery, and they all just said there's not a brewery here, which was mind-blowing to me, considering this is where the Pilgrims landed originally. It's Massachusetts, which is like the state capital, or the state of craft breweries. So after about 5 years of kind of visiting here and just spending a lot, every vacation up here, I just was like, all right, let's like, how has somebody not done this yet? So I had no brewing experience really at the time. I homebrewed a few times with myself, but never worked at a brewery or anything. So I was very lucky enough to get linked up to, as we all know, that the brewing community is just like one of the most communal, supportive, amazing communities to be part of. I was lucky enough to get connected to Nick Walther at Turtle Swamp. He had recently opened up his brewery in Jamaica Plains in Boston. So I interned with him for about 6 months. During that time, learned how to brew with him and his brewmaster or assistant brewer. His flavor profile and his kind of ethos to brewing is just like really good solid beer, which is exactly what I'm about. It's not, like there's a lot of great beer out there and that's really experimental, but he is just like really solid, crushable beers is kind of his go-to. So very, very fortunate in how it lined up. And so I worked with him for about 6 months to develop our first initial offerings. And then as, we finally found a spot in Provincetown and kind of hustled to get opened for 2019 season. We opened a little late, season here is pretty short, but we opened up here in August, and then, it was received really well. And then, we kind of hit right into the pandemic, which was great. But, the whole idea for me was that this brewery was about a place that, Provincetown is obviously a very queer, welcoming place, but, a lot of straight people come here. It's a very open, progressive town. It's not like Fire Island, where it's pretty strictly gay. And so I always thought that, this town, brewery would do so well here because it's such an intersection of families and older and younger generations and lesbians and bears and, gays and every walk of life. And so sure enough, this place has really become a community center for the community, which has been fantastic. But I also, because P-Town is such a, vacation destination. Like every time I came up here, it was always basically just to get pretty lit and go out and have fun. And so you don't really get to know the community. And when you're only here for a week at a time or here for a short weekend, you don't really get to understand. Like, it is a really cool town to be a part of. And it goes from 90,000 people in the peak of summer to 3,000 people in dead of winter. And so I really wanted to highlight the people who actually make this community what it is, throughout the year. So we came up with this idea that it was more like an activism beer brand. All breweries do, really get back to their communities, but I really wanted to make that the central focus of the actual brand. So we came up with a term called draftivism, and we basically take the back of our can and highlight the different charities that kind of reflects the pillars of the community. And eventually wanted to grow to be more, just any kind of, it doesn't have to be so local, but, we definitely, there's a lot of great local charities that we've already featured, and we're able to give, back, 15% of our profits go back to all these charities. And again, that only kind of reflects this idea of a brewery where, you come in and it's a communal place. It's a place that's a watering hole. And so you come in and so I thought it would be a great way to have a conversation starter that if you look at the back of the can, you're like, oh, what's the Summer of Sass? Oh, it's this really great local charity that brings up underprivileged, LGBTQ youth up from the South into a town that, shows them what it is like to live in a really open and progressive town. Or, the Conservation Trust, what's the, like these local things that I don't think you would ever really know about if it wasn't highlighted. So it's just been a really cool experience, and this town has just been so supportive of it. So that's kind of like the ethos from it. And then also, like, everybody said that the gays don't drink beer, and I'm like, you guys are wrong. Like, there's
I was gonna say, I think we hang out with different gays because they all drink beer.
I know, they all drink beer. Like, Bear Week is our busiest week here ever. It's like insane, and that maybe like the muscly circuit boys don't, but they still come in, and we have a hard seltzer for them. It's fine, but there's those, you got to pander to everybody. And,
I was
but
gonna
it's
say,
so
have
it's
a
just
few
like
basics.
yeah, exactly. I'm happy to make sure everybody's welcome and they have something to drink. But it's been the lesbians, the bears, and just like everyone in between, and the straights. Like last season, there was a much greater vibe in town just because of the pandemic. But they just drank like crazy. So it's been nothing but great success and really a lot of support. So.
That's fantastic, man. And like everybody was even saying in the comments section, it sounds like the amount that you give back both to your local community as well as to the charitable, community in general. That's amazing. Because as someone who grew up in the South, I can tell you, being in the LGBTQ community in the South was not a very popular thing for most kids that I knew growing up.
Meanwhile, in California, I was in the LGBTQ club.
Right.
Like in high school.
Such a different separation of growing up.
Different vibe.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
No.
So now I actually did look at the back of your can. So tonight we're going to be doing the Golden Hook Golden Ale.
Yeah.
And the back of this one is IMC, Indivisible Mass Coalition.
Yeah, so this is Indivisible, which is basically a get out the vote organization. They're national chapters, but this is the local chapter, the Mass Coalition. But Indivisible is basically, they do a lot of work with Swing Left. Our launch party was, my initial launch party that we did here in town was right before the midterm elections of 2018. We did a launch party here. Just like my initial investors were kind of like, let's see if this has legs. And so we did a Flip the House Flip Cup tournament in town, and so we partnered with them, and they've been really amazing. So it was just a way right before the election to kind of get people registered to vote, get information out about different contests that were going on, and so we've been partners with them for a long time. So yeah, they're one of our dear friends. So
awesome. Well, I want to make sure you're getting out in time. So why don't we crack this?
Let's drink this damn beer.
Crack it open.
I have been waiting to have this beer since this box arrived. When I saw Provincetown Brewing, I was like, yes. I was so excited. Where's my glass?
So this is one of my favorite beers. So this is our Golden Hook Golden Ale. It's basically, we have it's a really straightforward golden ale. This is the one beer that we'll always offer in a 12-pack or in 12-ounce cans, just because it's the beer that I go to the we go to the beach and I crush, a good 8 or 9 of these, and I just like them to be cold. So
yeah, I was kind of excited when you said you guys kind of stuck with like crushable beer and like just make good beer. And like as soon as I saw it was a golden ale, I was like, I think I might know what to expect now based off that description.
Yeah.
So, what are we smelling and tasting? Before I butcher
smelling, we have a Mosaic. Sure. So it's Mosaic, and so the hops are Mosaic and Cascade, and then we just use some really just some Pilsner and flaked oats. It's a really simple recipe, and then you get this really nice kind of sweet, smooth, kind of creamy, taste, but then also these like hints of like grapefruit and apple, and it doesn't leave like this kind. It just the aftertaste is actually a little creamy, but you get it's very crisp with that apple taste in it, which right at the forefront. So it's just one of those drinks that every time I drink one, it's pure happiness.
Yeah, and actually it's weird. So it's weird to get the creamy on the back end of that,
Right.
like to get that like little bit of almost
Yeah.
that creamy on the back end. Man, that's good.
Yeah. You really don't expect it. Like right when it hits your tongue, you think it's like it's much more citrusy and appley and crisp. But and it's a nice complex taste to it. So for being such a really simple beer, it's actually it's definitely what my go-to. So.
And it's a really pretty color.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a golden ale, and you kind of expect it to be like a little brighter than like a Pilsner or something like that, but it is a really pretty color. It could just be the ring lights, but it looks good.
Yeah, and she's pretty for sure.
So
I could definitely drink multiples of these very easily. And I'm sure you have.
Yeah, no, it's some days it's a little questionable. I'm like, okay, I need to go. But that's also like all the beers that we offer here, for the most part are pretty session-esque. We always want to keep them pretty low ABV, just so that you are able to go to the beach and have multiples and not be passed out by 1 p.m. So
this makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to have a full day of drinking, not a half day of drinking or power drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit my 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a real concern.
For
So listen, I think it's really, from our end of things, I think it's amazing what you're doing for the LGBTQ community, both as an individual, like the idea just to start with that to begin with of how much you give back to it.
Right.
That's crazy to me because we have a lot of folks within the industry and also within the community who work for breweries and other places and stuff. And it's everybody's got to make $1, and at the same time, you're within a community that you're supporting and they're supporting you. So I think that's crazy, man. I'm looking forward to coming up to Provincetown and seeing you guys, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
We will definitely be doing that.
I love it. Guys.
Make sure I'm invited. I have had a blast in Provincetown. I'm just like you. I've gone to Fire Island and I've gone to Provincetown. So as a straight male, I will say Provincetown is probably more of my scene. I will.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Not that I didn't have. I'm known to wear a good Speedo.
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I love it.
I actually do. But I went to Fire Island for the drag queen arrival.
Invasion. Yeah, absolutely.
That was a day. And I literally hit a point where I go, I don't think I'm supposed to be here anymore.
I'm an odd man out here.
I was like, I came, I supported, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
Let them have their fun. But P-Town, I could spend the whole weekend in P-Town. Like you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Dude,
well,
we're making a trip. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, come on, guys. Keep me posted. We'll be here cold for you.
Oh, you will be receiving an email from me in regards to a hat, so we can keep in contact that way.
We just got cool hats.
This show
They're very cool. So. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I'll get you guys some good merch for sure.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to make sure that you hit your, exit time point. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. This beer is fantastic. Thank you so much for what you're doing for the community. And I, wish you guys the best of luck. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah,
thanks a lot,
Chris. Pleasure to meet you guys, and thank you guys for having me on. Yep. All right, you guys have a great Pride, all right?
All right, happy Pride.
Cheers. Right, bye-bye. Cheers.
So,
this beer is great.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, A, the beer is great, and B, I love that on a night where your audio is so crummy, no one had to do anything because that man could just speak for hours and be great at it.
Right.
I could listen to him talk for the whole show. I mean,
don't get all gay on me, Phil.
Just give him a show.
He could be a consultant to our show.
No, I loved hearing about all the different things that they're doing. And prior to the show actually kicking off, he was telling us about all the different events that they've been having lately and plan to have, now that COVID is we're coming out of that phase of where, you know, you're staying at home all the time.
Well, that's the crazy part for me too. Like when he first started, we chatted with him a little bit before the show started just to make sure, like, you know, everybody's on the same page. And he was like, yeah, we started in 2019. I was like, what a shit roll of the dice.
Right.
But
yeah. And he's like, you know, didn't think we were going to make it. And then here we are in Virginia drinking one of his beers. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
So kudos to them for like making good use of all the different, I guess, opportunities they had to like continue growing throughout the pandemic. Oh, I thought you bottomed up that, and I was no. Wow, thanks, man.
So I really do like this beer, and I like the finish on it. The smell in the front end is weird.
It is weird. It reminds me almost like a seltzer, like that apple. I think it's the apple.
I think it's the apple. Yeah. I mean, it's killer, but
yeah, I saw on Untappd someone mentioned it almost reminds them of a wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's that sweet wine. It's that like appley sweet wine taste.
I'm okay with that. Yeah. That's I think that's exactly what it is.
Because at first I smelled it and I was like, oh no.
Well done, internet snooper. I thought you just figured that out, Phil, but no, you just internet.
No, but I smelled it and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. And I drank it and I was like, oh, just kidding, this is amazing.
I am always worried about having a beer with somebody on that I think is shit, because I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
Like if it really is like a 2.35 beer, I'm gonna be like, bro, this is terrible. I don't know how to fix that. Maybe it's just me.
I mean, they're coming on a beer review show, so they can kind of expect.
I would think so.
Right. And my other thing was,
I don't think we can get this one here yet, but so we got this one from the Sam Adams Queer Beer Box.
Yeah.
It was like a special order box that was so many beers from different breweries.
It also sounded like he had some sort of beer drop he mentioned. So I don't know if they do have something.
I think they're doing a separate one.
It might be like more local. I mean, we've discussed this a little bit in the past where like the state lines, how you can your beer and how you label it is kind of the biggest piece of like how you can get your beers to other states. And you need to have some sort of like agreement with them and like, you know, meet all their standards. And so not all states have the same standards. And so that's kind of the biggest piece is they don't want to like change their labeling just to ship it to another state. But from what I understand, at least Virginia and like California and New York, they kind of have more open shipping as far as getting it to them. So in theory, we could get this. But anyway.
Yeah, so if we got this in Virginia already from the Queer Beer Box, then it's already crossed the state line, which means there is an avenue to get it in some capacity.
They just write the right shipping people.
Or just plan a week in P-Town and go drink.
I'm not going to lie, I'm also excited that it's referred to as P-Town because there's a Portsmouth, Virginia that's pretty close to us. I'll be there Saturday, and it's also referred to as P-Town. So he was like, P-Town, and I was like, you know, Portsmouth. Oh, never mind.
I guess it depends on the person asking. But you'll know which P-Town they're talking about.
Right, exactly. Yeah, depending on the person that asked me, I'll be like, you're talking about Provincetown, right? Not Portsmouth. So we have a secondary beer from the Queer Beer Box that we're going to go through now as well. We may have a few more guests on. We're consistently getting text messages right as we speak. But we have another beer that we're going to do as well from the same box, and I think we chose this one because it's.
Are we going to rate? Are we going to rate this one now?
Oh yeah. No,
do we want to review it now or after the screaming kids go to bed?
Goddamn kids! All right, I'm sorry.
No, it's out of order, so Daniel has no idea what's happening. He is very much so like this is the order we do things in.
Go ahead.
I love our cutscenes.
They are my favorite.
Okay, so I will go first. I'm gonna give this one a 3.5.
Okay.
3.5. I like the apple flavor and I like the creamy aftertaste. Mm-hmm. The smell at the beginning I think just because it doesn't smell like a beer, it doesn't smell exactly what I would expect it to smell like.
Okay.
Is just weird for me, but it doesn't change the flavor, and the flavor's fantastic. So yeah, that's my reasoning.
Fair. I'm going higher than that. I'm gonna go 3.75.
Bottle caps out of 5.
Bottle caps out of 5 bottle caps. This is not stars. None of us are Ed McMahon. There's no Christina Aguilera as a child on this show. We're not rating these. So I'm gonna go 3.75. I don't mind the smell of it on the front. I couldn't place it, but I also like really funky saisons.
Yes.
So if it smells weird, typically I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'll give her a shot.
Oh, great. Thanks.
I'm talking about beer again.
I put you over on.
So it doesn't smell like anything specific to me, which is why I couldn't place it. But yeah, the flavor's great. The aftertaste of it is fantastic. I like it. It's almost like a cream ale on the back end, which is easy to drink.
Yeah,
and exactly like you said, I think it's crushable. Like I could sit on the beach and drink that all day long. So 3.75.
All right. Well, I'm first off, can design. No.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about it because I was like, other than the idea of promoting the community on the back, the can, if I saw it in the grocery store on the front.
Well, then it's probably a good thing that he was so wonderful to listen to because I wasn't able to mess that interview up at all, besides the screaming kids.
Did they go inside?
No, I think maybe they're just underwater at the moment.
Hopefully
that's where they stay.
So we're down the kid.
I actually like the can design. I like all their can designs. I think it's solid. But for a score for the beer, I'm giving it a 4. I really like it. I think it's super clean. You can drink it over and over again. I like the apple aspect to it because it's clean, but it also has that little bit of fruit, so it's really refreshing. And also, I also felt like 3.5 was just too low, and so I wanted to bring it up. So I'm bringing it up to make sure it's at 3.75. And for me personally, it's a 4. So
Cool.
It's a 3.75 for the show.
It's a gold medal. I have no idea how they score things, so I assume that's a gold medal.
3.75 is a great score for our show and this beer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The kids seem to like it too.
So. I hooked them up with 40 of them. That's why they're so loud.
All right.
Well, sorry to jump the gun on this, but now let's have a second beer.
Well, no. So I thought it was really interesting, and I don't know if we planned this on purpose or not, but the back of the can, they're, it's all towards like voting and like that activism of like, making sure that your voice is heard, basically. And our next beer is Vote by DC Brau, which is also about voting.
What?
Which I am very passionate about. I believe that you should definitely vote because it's important. And if you don't, then you don't get to complain.
Correct.
I mean, I will say when we got this box, you were like, we're doing vote for the show.
Correct.
And since Daniel and I don't fight you, we were like, sure.
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever you want.
Because I don't take no for an answer, so you guys have just learned, and that's great. Thank you.
Correct.
No, if I had a different life, I would probably be way more into activism with voting. I don't necessarily have opportunities.
Oh my God.
I can't go into it. But one, I can't run for office probably because of this show. And now I can't do a whole lot of activism. So I pretty much just donate.
I would 100 million.
I don't know. We have that disclaimer on all of our episodes. So I think you're good. I think, I won't be able to because I am going to go over there and throw these kids back in the pool.
But anyway, basically this whole
summer nights.
It's very much so, making sure that everyone understands that like your voice is important, especially because they're out of DC, and DC still doesn't have full like voting rights compared to the rest of the states because they are not technically a state. So that's kind of like their whole thing. And that's
You got
that's
one,
important.
Tiffany.
Oh, thanks, Marley.
And to follow up with I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but I'm going to jump in because you're quiet for a second. Started by a gay couple. 2 men started this. Yeah. I'm sure you have more details, but I just wanted to jump in.
I don't have a ton of details on this one. I know this is the second or third show.
I love setting you up for disaster.
No, so the purpose of the show for me was to really highlight like pride, and I wanted to go into like the pride history of things and like some of the stories that you may not necessarily hear of like the firsts of things. So the trivia kind of goes into a little more of pride in general. I did look up this brewery really quickly just based on the beer itself and kind of what they made the beer to stand for. I think it has some like, here we hold this.
Sure.
Thanks. And this.
Oh God, yeah.
Thanks. Table's only so big right here.
Yeah, I guess.
Whole lot of things going on. So DC, the 23rd Amendment, which was 1961, was when they were first given the right to vote for president. But if you like look at any of like the DC license plates, for those of you who have either been there or live in the area, you'll see a lot of taxation without representation. So this is kind of an effort of, we need to, get the voting rights that we want, but also for those of us who do have those voting rights, because we are outside of DC, to 100% use them when they're available, because they're important. But yeah, I will make sure we feature another beer of theirs in the near future so I can actually give their brewery some credit. So
unless this beer sucks, and then we probably will never feature them again.
No.
Go vote. It's important, but if the beer is garbage, don't vote for it.
I feel like there's so many breweries that are doing like good in their community and in the world, and I think it's important to highlight them.
I agree.
So we'll eventually do another one of these, but for now, let's crack this thing open because we are still not sure if we're having other people join us. And I'm trying to hold off for a trivia for them just because otherwise I don't think anyone ever wants to join.
I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you know ahead of time. I did not know what Crystal Weizen was.
I did, but I've been to a Crystal Burger, and I assume it's a beer brewed with the same burger meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost exactly. So I did look it up. So a lot of people don't like them, so that's a fun way to start. Crystal Weizens are basically filtered Hefeweizens. Hmm? So look at me. Look at me.
You German. I'm sorry, everyone's included.
So I'm interested in this because I don't think I've ever had one. So
I have not. I did read a little bit about like the tasting notes on this one. It smells so it smells like a Hefeweizen with that like banana and cloves.
Yeah, there's I think the cloves are throwing me off.
Oh, I like cloves. Not
in a bad way. The first smell was banana. Now I'm hitting like a hard clove.
Also, one of the people that
what everyone wants to watch is people texting, right?
Well, no, Melissa doesn't have the link. It's fine. Hold on. I'm going to be rude. You guys talk for a minute.
So I do think...
Because everyone comes on a Pride show to watch two white straight guys talk about Pride.
Bill, we keep talking about it long enough with these beers. Who knows?
It wouldn't be the first or the last.
Wouldn't be the first time I found you on that app. So I'm actually not a huge Hefeweizen fan in general. It's not one of my favorite beers. I like this version of it better, which I know and it mostly means if people don't like it more, they're probably like actual Hefeweizen fans.
Yeah.
But I like this version a little bit better.
So yeah, I'm actually with you. I think the Hefeweizen for me was great when I was younger because it's so fruity and just kind of like easy to drink. And
well, yeah, I think that was like a gateway craft beer. Like if you found a Hefeweizen somewhere, it's like, yeah, great.
Yeah. Look at me, I'm tough. I'm drinking this orange beer.
Yeah, you guys don't know about orange zest and banana and clove. Read a book.
This almost pulls that out, and then you're just kind of left with a little easier to drink as you get older.
Mhm.
So this, what is it called again? The Crystalweizen, I say, is the adult Hefeweizen.
I'm okay with that.
So the tasting notes for their website says a sweet scent of banana bread and hints of spice and bubblegum rise from a
Bubblegum.
light gold pour, offering a welcome invitation to imbibe. The first sip cascades along the palate with flavors of cloves, lingering banana, and malted wheat.
Mhm.
The finish is crisp and smooth with a hint of caramelized plantains, offering maximum refreshment for a hot afternoon.
Maybe this may be the best comment on a Hefeweizen, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, I'm having a Hefeweizen.
Yes, I'll have 2 Hefeweizen.
And I'm 24.
Yeah.
Hefeweizen, it's a B. You pronounce the
Do
W
you
like a
speak
B.
German?
Volkswagen.
That's funny.
I've got
So
some
no,
sound,
so I-
sound of Music kids over there.
They loved it. Like I said, I like this better than a standard Hefeweizen, but it's also not my favorite beer. So
Hefeweizens for me are always hit or miss. Banana flavor for me it's weird. I like bananas, but fun fact, the actual banana flavor is from a different strain of bananas that
I
went
know.
extinct.
Sorry.
I've told you this. This is a fun fact I share with people.
I thought you were just talking to me.
No, we have 4 viewers. No, but the banana flavor actually is from an extinct banana strain that like a pest took out, basically.
A pest?
Yeah.
That could have been handled.
Well, it was a problem. But anyway, that's a longer story. But so the banana flavor and bananas don't necessarily, they're not the same for me. They don't taste the same. And so like I like banana bread because it's made with actual bananas, but like the banana like runts, for example,
Do not even get me on
which
banana
Daniel
runts.
loves, I hate them.
There's a few things in life I care about. Hang with Mr. Cooper, banana runs.
Are we back to hanging with Mr. Cooper? Because this is something I
I
can talk about.
I am going to bring this up every single week, Bill. However, hang with
Until
Mr.
Mr. Cooper comes on this show.
If Mark Curry showed up on this show, I would shit a brick.
Wow.
And 5 week over. No, I'm just.
But anyway, I do like this beer. I think it's well done. I like the tasting notes that like are on there because it pretty much perfectly describes what I'm drinking. The banana flavor is a more like realistic banana flavor for me. Like it does taste like that banana bread. And I don't know if it's because it's got like those different spices and the cloves and things that kind of bring it a little bit more. It's like a fall beer almost, but it's way crisper and easier to drink, which makes it a year-round beer.
Fair.
And this would be a fall beer being called Vote.
Right, November 3rd.
I mean, yeah. What?
So
Oh, God, I missed that last year. That's my bad. I was out at this elementary school on November 2nd, which is my normal polling place, for hours, and people were staring at me.
They were open for like a full 2 weeks.
What?
You voted. Something.
God, I was so early.
I would not. Care.
well,
So
is
what are
it
you gonna
time
rate
then?
God, I hate when you cut me off.
We got 2 review time cutaways tonight, which I'm excited about.
That is very exciting. I'm for it.
Yeah.
So I'll take this one out first because I'm not a big Hefeweizen fan. I think it's a good one. I'm going to give it a 3. Which is, again, I normally try to scale it against the other.
Not a Hefeweizen.
It's a, I have to keep looking at it. Crystalweizen?
Where's the can?
I think it's called Cristal.
It's Crystalweizen, right?
Where's the can?
Cristal.
It's a Crystalweizen. Crystalweizen.
Oh, I have it.
All right.
But regardless, I'm going to go with a 3. It's still not my favorite flavor profile, like in the beer world, but this one's pretty well done.
If someone handed it to you, you'd be like, you'd keep drinking it because that's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spit it back in their face like a 1930s like comedy. Actually, maybe I would just for the sake of being like a 1930s comedy, but then I'd drink the rest of it.
Yeah. All right. I'll go next so that I'm not responsible for the
math
final score. I'm going to give it a 3.25.
Okay.
I actually was with you, Daniel. I think if we had scored it the second I drank it, I probably was going to hit a 3. As I keep drinking it, though, I'm enjoying it. I'm getting different flavors as I keep going. It's lingering nicely. Would it be something if there was a few beers in a fridge, would I grab it again? No. Would I be mad if someone had it and gave it to me? Well, I'm never going to be mad at that. But
thank you.
In general.
Forehead beer.
Right.
Oh, but I got to talk about this crybaby beer that I had. But we'll I'm going to bring that up. Maybe.
Will you just finish rating this damn beer? We'll talk about
That's
that.
what they did. 3.25. I drink it again. I don't necessarily want it again, but I would drink it again.
Fair.
Man. Well, I really like this beer. I do like Hefeweizens. I like that this one's like a little bit more like mellow because it is that like extra filtered.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings all the flavors kind of together even more. Oh my God, we have actual gay people. Sorry, hold on.
We had. Okay.
Hold on.
We had.
Hey!
Hey!
Just rate this beer and then we'll catch up.
Yeah, y'all shut your mouth for a second and let's.
Okay, but no. So I really like this beer. I'm gonna give it a 3.75. I don't know what the math on that one is.
Probably, I don't either. Where's Vera when we need? Where's Vera?
We don't have enough bottle caps. We haven't purchased enough bottle caps to get half bottle caps.
So we have not purchased the the supporter. 3.25, 3.75. If I give it a 4, does it make it a 3.5?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll give it a 4, and then that way math is easy. Vero said 3.25, but I edited my score. Does that
But she
count?
used her phone, so that doesn't count.
3.5 then.
Okay.
And I'll give it a 4. Just remind me.
All right.
All right. So now that being said, we
have actually
just recently got guested, which is my favorite.
And I also love that's the best way to introduce someone.
I love it.
We have real gay people.
That's Tiffany. Good
and
Lord.
by the way, we had a gay person on earlier. It doesn't even make sense.
I feel like with just us on here, it's not fair to Pride Week. I mean, I've dated women, but I don't I feel like I don't count because I have been with men way more often.
True story, Michael.
But anyway,
so that being said, if
there's
you guys,
a bunch of straight people on Pride Week, I feel like that's dumb.
Would you introduce them?
People,
Go
for
ahead.
God's
Go
sake?
ahead.
If everybody remembers the show and you've been keeping up on us, Melissa works for Stone Brewing. She was on one of our earlier shows, and I think Lucy even photobombed that for like 2.8 seconds.
Yeah.
After she was like, I'm not really comfortable on camera, and she came in like, what up? So Melissa works for Stone, and her wife Lucy actually works for Virginia Beer Company, which, if you guys keep up on the show, I wear a ton of their material because I live there.
And they're coming on, the show in a few weeks.
For joining us so much. I really appreciate it.
And we are doing a beer with them in 2.
Oh yeah, 2 weeks.
July 15th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more BBC.
This is why we don't drink the beers in the beginning of the show.
Also, I had a beer before that one.
It was running smooth up until this moment, and it's because we're on the second one.
True story.
We didn't mean to frazzle you guys. Sorry about that.
Honestly,
I just got excited. I'm sorry.
We just have to make people nervous. I know.
I think that's fair. So one of the reasons we also wanted to have you guys on, and so we had we had another brewer on from a place up in Massachusetts, and he talked a lot about the community and a lot about the LGBTQ community and what they're doing for it, what the brewery is doing for it, what it means to them. And we wanted to have you guys on as well so that we're going to go through a little bit of some of the history on the community in general, not necessarily as it relates to beer, but I would love to hear from you guys as well as to how it does fully relate to your job, how it relates to you personally, and see if any of y'all know the damn answers to these questions.
They're like kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to.
She's out. She's done.
I don't do hard questions.
Yeah. No hard questions.
Okay,
No.
she's back. She's got this. Sorry, that was your kid.
No, so I was trying to make trivia that was like not necessarily like the standard like Pride trivia. I was trying to make it something that was like interesting, but I was also trying to do like firsts of things or like major milestones. And honestly, I didn't get past the 70s because there was so much that happened beforehand. So like I need like a 0.2 Pride episode. Where I can like go from the 70s and beyond, or I guess like even late 70s, early 80s, because there's just so much history like in this entire movement that is fascinating, and I feel like everyone should know about it.
Well, roll that beautiful, beautiful history. Every time with you.
I had it
I love
ready. I had it ready. History and facts and trivia. It goes right to trivia after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point, I've pretty much tried to lump history into trivia because it keeps it structured and I don't ramble as much.
All right.
Let's not get ourselves.
As much. So if I structured around questions, everyone is on board.
Okay. I'm on board. Let's
I
go.
need Phil to do
You know what? It's it.
Okay. I like that you included the flag.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an open question because it kind of depends on who you ask. But what is the most recent full acronym for the LGBTQ whatever, like all of it?
I definitely don't know the answer to that because I feel like every time I think I do, there's something else that got added to it that like is not part of the community of directly related to me.
Yeah, you're not in this one.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But like, or even there's portions of it that are people that are involved in that community that I may have never actually met somebody who's involved in that portion of the community. So I don't know the full acronym, which is why I've always just stuck with LGBT because that.
You should at least include the Q. I feel like that's like from our era.
I rode the Q train. I'm not interested. No, I'm just kidding. So who does know the answer then?
LGBTQIA plus.
Yeah.
So, yes and no. That's still technically a short version of it. So bear with me. I'm going to go slowly through this because there are a lot, and I actually wrote down some of what.
Holy shit.
So
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the notebook. It is this long.
LGBTQIP2SAA.
That's just pi. You're just reading numbers off of pi.
3.14159. So lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, queer, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, androgynous, asexual, and then ally is also kind of sometimes one of those A's. So for those of you who don't know, intersex is someone who's born with characteristics that don't like meet male or female standards. So they just kind of have like, I mean, you've heard stories of people with that, right? So anyway, they're just outside of the norms. Pansexual, people are attracted to all genders regardless. It's more like their qualities as a person versus like actually what they look like or who they are like on the outside. And then two-spirit is actually a Native American indigenous tribe that actually is their third gender. And it's actually a ceremonial role that they had within like, or they still do, they exist. That they have within their communities, which I thought was really cool to think that was like mean, that's a thing they've had for generations. They're like, yeah, like you don't need to be like male or female. Like there is an additional role for you in our society. I think the rest of them are kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay, I tried to get like just the ones that might be.
Honestly, I think the two-spirit one is the only one that would have really threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I actually heard. So I was listening to a podcast.
What?
I know. Daniel gets very excited when I tell him I was listening to a podcast because it's so outside of my
20 minutes of something I didn't listen to.
No. But anyway, and they mentioned it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, why isn't that included? Because I feel like that's it is. It's cool. Well, and then I looked at the whole acronym, and it said. So anyway, LGBTQIA+, the plus pretty much is, because I feel like every year there's like another group that just would like to be recognized, which good for them. And so the plus is kind of we can continue adding, and you don't have to keep memorizing a bunch of letters. So, but anyway, very, very cool. I enjoy that. That's like, there's so many things that have been recognized. And I did put a bunch of links. So I believe Phil added them underneath the video.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Wait, no, I didn't. They will be added after this episode.
Add links. So all of the stuff I'm going over now, I added links to like where I found it or more about it, including the different acronyms and like the different meanings from a couple different sources.
Thanks for breaking that down, Tiffany. That was educational for me as well.
You're welcome.
And did you scholarly source these? Is that what you're telling me?
So if I was to use a scholarly source like a school university, you may not necessarily have access to it because you don't necessarily have university access. But I do. I still have an EDU account. Maybe I'll get my doctorate. I don't know.
You got the
hookup. But yeah, no. So they're like, regular Googles, but I did look through them. Like they're not.
I love that they're regular Googles.
They're not
scholarly sources.
They're regular Googles through the mind of somebody with an EDU. So
right. Thank you.
I mean, they're not EDU or orgs, but they're good starting places, and I don't feel like they're at least somewhat like the New York Times is on there, which. If you're going to be a newspaper that's that widely known, if you don't research your things, like people are going to call you out. So whether you want to admit that you like the New York Times or you want to pretend like you don't like them,
you'll never know.
I've got a lot. Yeah. Okay, next question. I'm going to try and do this quickly because I wrote a lot of notes on this. Maybe I'll just film a whole episode just on myself.
Sure.
All right. So when did the gay rights movement begin? Like officially, like when did it start?
Long before that. It's in the Bible.
I know, but like when was the first?
About this, our Bailey she decided to buy or she wanted us to buy her a swimsuit, and it was a Pride swimsuit, and we asked her, "Do you know what Pride means?" And then she's just like, "Yeah, LGBTQIA+, right?" And they're like, "Okay, that's a good start." So we did some research. And we're like, we need to make sure we know what we're talking about so we can talk to our daughter about this.
Because we thought for sure she just wanted the bathing suit because it had rainbows on it.
Yeah, cool colors, bro.
So when I asked her, do you know what your bathing suit means? She was like, it's for Pride, Mom.
Yeah.
We're like, oh,
okay,
sweet.
Great. Glad we bought it for you. That's great.
So wait, you guys know the answer then?
Yeah, that's. Well, I guess it would have been what we were talking about with Pride. Mm-hmm. The Pride started in the 60s, right?
Right.
So I would say 61, right?
The gay rights movement, I think, started in 38.
The gay
rights movement.
Yeah, the gay rights movement, I think, probably started, I would even say in the 20s, because the 20s was so wildly about partying and openness, and you couldn't even really drink in public during that time, I think.
Yeah, am I way off?
But maybe. Anyway, so that, my guess is 1924.
Yeah, good thing we did that research.
What do you got, Phil?
I'm also gonna go with 1924 as well, because I think it's different. Pride and gay rights movements, I think, are two completely different things. So,
but I think
that's where you got thrown off.
Which is the right answer.
Vera went with 24. All right, so 24 is the first one that I was able to find. All of these years are actually pretty much. There's something important that happened during those years. I'm going to run through them really fast because I don't want to be here forever, and I don't think anyone else does either. So 1924, Henry Gerber founded the Society for Human Rights in Chicago. and it's the first documented gay rights organization. So during World War I, he actually created a homosexual emancipation group. And then in 1925, they were disbanded because of police raids. But 90 years later, his home became a National Historic Landmark. In 1938, the pink triangles were given to homosexual prisoners at concentration camps in Germany. And they were also given to sexual predators. In 1950, Harry Hay founded the Matchnight Foundation. I'm butchering that, I'm sure. But it's one of the first gay rights groups, and they were trying to change it from homosexual to homophile because it made it less, like the connotation just wasn't quite there. And then Dale Jennings was one of his co-founders, and they actually they founded One, which was one of the first gay, like pro-gay magazines, and the USPS would not deliver it. So they refused to deliver it up in 1954 because it was too obscene, and then they won a lawsuit, and it was they redistributed it in 1958. In 1952, homosexuality was listed as a mental disorder by the American Psychiatric Association. And then in 1961, Illinois removed the anti-sodomy laws. And then California also started airing documentaries, like one called The Rejected. So that was kind of like a few of like the first big pieces of like the gay rights movement. And that's all I have for that question. I'm trying to go fast.
Yeah, we're gonna cut the question short because we're already pushing an hour.
But it's pride.
I understand that. I'd like to hear.
Daniel needs to pee.
No, I'd like to hear from Melissa and Lucy. So because this has always been one of the important things for me, because obviously I'm a white straight male, which means I have no say in any of this. However, I think it's interesting, like with the people that I've met and getting to know you guys both individually and as a couple. It's amazing to me to hear and see. I mean, because we've seen a fair amount of some of the struggles versus some of the victories and some of the things that you guys have been through and done. And it's always interesting to me that you guys are both in the beer community for separate companies, but that beer community is so good to that community in general. Like, have you guys had any pushback from the beer community in regards to your sexuality? Nothing else.
I mean, I can say that I have been really fortunate that I work for a company based in California.
Sure.
And the culture of Stone is incredibly supportive. It's actually, so Lucy is the only woman that I've ever been with. And so, you know, I've been learning how to be gay while also learning about craft beer. And I've been really fortunate to work in an environment that's made it so easy for me to be expressive and to not have to feel ashamed or afraid to tell people that I'm married to a woman or that I have a wife or, you know, all of these things. Because I know that's not always the case in the beer industry and in the world, you know, but I personally have been pretty fortunate in that case. Consumers are different. Because you know, it's not really the same thing, but.
You know, it's funny. I used to work for a brewery that's a little older than the one that I currently work for. And I remember when I first transitioned from working at this brewery that's a little bit older to the one that I work for now, people would ask me like, oh, you know, how is that? And I would just say, it's impossible to describe. Just, you know, obviously times have changed so much, but I was working for a company that was very old school. And I remember I went to one of our, from the brewery I used to work with, I went to one of our investors' weddings, and I wore a dress to that wedding, which is like, it's bizarre to think about. But
hold on, are there pictures of that?
I've seen you in a dress.
Oh yeah, I have the picture.
Unfortunately, there are pictures. You know, it's a memory.
She looks great. I had totally forgotten about that.
You know, I think back to times like that. It's like you grow as an individual, and the community grows around you. And when you take the time to kind of reflect on the way that you used to have to act or feel that you had to act versus the way that you can kind of be who you are now. I just kind of use that anecdote as an example of like, yeah, I felt the need. This guy was a really old school, like former FBI agent, retired, just old school type of guy. And I was going to his wedding, so I thought, I should probably wear a dress, thing, and now it's like, I can't even imagine myself in a dress, just as an example, but it's kind of the way that I feel the need to present myself. And that was in the beer world back then. And like Melissa said, we're fortunate in the way that people have progressed and grown, and I've been able to grow in myself and be more comfortable with myself. I probably could have worn whatever I wanted to that wedding, for example, but that's what I felt like I needed to do. And now with the community growing the way that it has, I have to give a lot of credit to the brewery I work for now, Virginia Beer Company, because they've been so accepting. I've been with them for 5 years, and I've found myself growing as an individual since then. So that's been really cool. Like Melissa said, of course, you're going to always come across people, beer or not, that are challenging to be around and maybe don't make you feel as comfortable. But by and large, I do have to give credit to the employers that we have now and how much they've supported us, and just us. Virginia Beer Company has done such a good job with Pride Month and the beers that we've brewed for it. So it's been really cool, but a journey for sure.
And it's so crazy to me because, and the only reason I ask these dumbass questions to you two, because I know both of you, is because I don't know both of you separately. I know both of you together. So it's interesting to hear, like, oh, I came from here, or I came from here, or like Melissa just said, like, this is the only woman I've been with. And did you see Lucy's face
She got
when
so
she said that? Lucy was like, yeah, dude. Oh, perfect.
I tried not to giggle.
I know. I tried so hard.
I tried to control my face. I guess I failed.
No, God, you did. Like, you were like,
I'm a chronic oversharer. That's part of
I love it.
the character.
Let me get along.
Right. No, but I think it's crazy. It's always been interesting to me to hear individual stories that bring people together. And when you connect beer to that is crazy to me, because you guys are both in the same industry. You're like my favorite two people in the sense that you come from the world that I love so much, and y'all are great people to begin with. I'm like, where you guys been my whole life?
We love you too. Yours too has been amazing.
Heck yeah. And thank God our kids are friends.
Ugh.
They're both listening outside the door right now.
I know.
That makes sense.
I saw you walk out earlier. That makes sense.
Tell her it's bedtime.
Yeah.
So, and I hate to ask this question because I feel like it's
No, you don't.
No, ask it.
This is like the big question. This is the same thing that's going on with like trying to be an ally, like in general. You always ask people that like are like whatever group that you need to be an ally for, like what can we do better? But I feel like that's a really important question, and things that maybe people might be looking for if they don't feel like they're doing enough. So just as one or two things that people like consumers, like you mentioned, like aren't necessarily up to the same par as actual like the brewery community. Like what can people as consumers do better to be more inclusive and be that ally that people need?
Yeah, I think that we kind of spoke to it a little bit. We do feel fortunate in where we are now. I mean, like our Pride gear at the brewery is so loved by everybody, and it means so much when we see somebody come through the brewery and they're just excited. And you can see the innocence on it. Like some people, they call it Pride gear. Some people call it, like, oh, can I have the rainbow T-shirt? It's and cute, but that everybody's putting forth this effort to be an ally, and the effort, no matter what, always just means so much. And I've had a lot of interesting conversations, with other people in the community, and kind of our general thoughts about, how we feel about what's going on and what we do think about kind of what you're asking here. And like I said, I really appreciate what everybody already does. And I think it's all about just respect and allowing people to kind of be who they are with as little judgment as possible. An example, I guess, like thinking about respect and allowing people to have that dignity that everybody wants to have is like, I was talking to my friend about it, and we were doing research for our kid that wants to wear the Pride swimsuit and everything. We were talking about like what LGBTQIA plus stands for and what it all means. And I remember telling her, I said, I really like the queer identity because I kind of like the flexibility of it, and I like that they're just kind of like, I like the idea that everybody's queer now. And we were talking about National Coming Out Day, and kind of like, it's kind of cool that Gen Z doesn't have to come out. It's just expected that everybody's queer now. It's like this kind of fascinating, cool thing. But then my friend, give him a shout out, Michael Rhodes on the chat here, said, he's like, yes, hear that. It's great that you look at this queer identity as what it is, and that's really cool that you see it like that. But, I take pride in the identity that I choose to own, and I really appreciate that people respect that also. And so I kind of have to take and that's kind of the point of all of these, the acronym, all these different things that you want to be okay asking about and respect, and like if you want to ask what acronym or what letter you stand for or what letter you identify with, just like asking and actually listening and then respecting it, whatever it might be. So of course everybody falls on different ends of the spectrum, and they have different ways that they want to be treated and spoken to. But for me, I think that is the big thing, is just, if you want to ask, actually listen, and then show that you care about it. So.
Yeah, and I think that for me, the thing that has been most impactful for me since I've been with Lucy is that there are quite a few people in my life that are very ignorant to what our life is, which is really just normal. We go to work
in Virginia,
pay our bills, and right? So I think that as an ally, people who are willing to have conversations with people who don't understand or are kind of have walls up against people like Lucy and I that fit into the LGBTQ community. I think being able to, as an ally, talk with your friends that exist within that community and ask the hard questions. If you're curious about it, of course, be tactful, but, don't be afraid to learn about us, because ultimately, I think what changes the hearts and minds of people who are hesitant to accept the LGBTQIA community into their lives is just lack of knowledge. So, I think that would be my big thing.
I think those are both great points. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to ask y'all some weird questions.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually going to say, the way that, so I felt like I've been in the community for a long time, although I am a straight man. But I've always felt invited and welcomed into the community. So to me, it's always been like, I need to respect the community itself, rather than thinking like, oh, I'm here in this community. I always felt welcomed in, and I always felt like I come in when I'm welcomed, and I come in with arms wide open, sort of thing. But so for me, like, I always wanted to come be a part of the community because I love the community. But just because I was straight, it always kind of felt weird. But it took me a long time to realize, like, I'm being invited into the community rather than I'm walking into your community.
I think, that's great. Yeah, you feeling welcomed is probably speaking more to you than it is to the people that you're going to be a part of. Yeah. So that's awesome, Phil.
Yeah, I've always felt like, because a lot of it, I think a lot of people look at it like they're the ones, like, they need to change. Like, I'm going to come into this community and show everyone that I'm different. Now I was always like, no, I'm going to stay away for a second and like let them have their community and go, hey, where can I fit into this part of the community? And I had the conversation earlier on the show where I said, I went to Fire Island and I've gone to P-Town, and they're very different gay communities.
I love P-Town. I've only been there once, but it was amazing.
Well, they have a brewery on P-Town now. It's brand new. So we had the guy on earlier.
We're going to take a road trip.
And that was kind of my take, was like, I went to Fire Island and I went, this is not my community. Like, I probably shouldn't be here. Like, it's just, but I go to P-Town, I go, okay, I'm welcome. This is like my place to be. So finding kind of that, figuring out where in the community I can fall into line and I can kind of join and be supportive, but also letting the community be its community, I guess. That makes sense.
No, I think
your perspective is great, Phil. Yeah.
It took me a long time to get there, though. I worked at a gay bar when I was 21, and it like blew my mind. And ever since then, I've been like the West Hollywood guy that I go there, and I played in a gay frisbee league. But I only went when I was invited. And
I mean, every frisbee league is gay. ourselves.
But yes, that's kind of where I always took it. It was like, and I think if the straight community that maybe is questioning how to get into being more supportive, it's more like find your way in by being invited into it, or find your niche where you can kind of learn and grow.
And I think that speaks a lot to when you're working within any community who's comfortable being themselves, also be yourself. So if you're a decent human being and you like people, that the community really doesn't come into play that much anymore, because I like people. If you're not an asshole, I like you. No matter what community you're in or who you are or where you come from. And I think that speaks volumes to the other, any group that you're interested in talking to or learning more about or being involved in or supporting. If you're just a decent person, you're going to tend to attract decent people. And I have yet to meet an indecent or undecent. I've yet to meet a bad goddamn community. It's amazing to me, because no matter where I've been, and Phil and I went to school together, and New York, all of them, like West Coast now, I've yet to meet a person that wasn't ecstatic to talk to me or hang out with me from that community, which is crazy to me.
Yep.
Like, I don't find that anywhere else or in any other group.
Yeah.
I don't think I do. Do I? I don't know. God damn it.
I think my important piece is it's okay to make mistakes. So, for example, if someone has a different pronoun than what you would assume that they should have, if you make a mistake in the middle of a conversation, just correct yourself and keep going. Just make sure that you acknowledge that they are a they or a he or a she, and then don't make a giant deal out of it, but still be respectful about it. I think that applies to everything. So Lucy, you mentioned queer is a term that you like, and everyone might have their own term. So if you, one, you should ask, and then two, if you forget in the middle of a conversation or you say something
speech patterns are a thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, so people have all these unconscious biases, and they're gonna continue to show those. But I think part of being a better ally is understanding that you have those unconscious biases and working through them. And I don't think anyone's gonna be upset at you if you slip up. Just don't be keep going. Don't make it hamper the
oh my
the
God, I'm
conversation.
so sorry.
Right. Because I don't think anyone I don't know.
No one, the other person didn't care that much until you went, oh my God.
That's
Then you come off
yes, that's the whole thing. It's you turn it around where somebody else says something offensive, and then you find yourself consoling them.
Exactly.
No, it's okay. You were offensive, but it's okay.
Oh my God. you end up as the reverse racist?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not racist, but
right. So anyway, I think that's my one piece that I've learned over however long I've been an ally. I mentioned earlier in the show, in high school, I was part of the LGBTQ club. So that was in the early 2000s, which Daniel that wasn't a thing in
I was
Virginia.
still homeschooled.
No, that wasn't.
So yes, I had no idea this community even existed.
But no, so I've always considered myself an ally in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's kind of my biggest takeaway is just be respectful of the other person, and don't be afraid to, one, ask questions, or two, if you slip up, just I don't know, don't make it a giant thing.
Yeah.
So
for
anyway.
sure. Those are all great insights. I think that the being a decent human and having that in mind is always number one. But then if you can try to be, like you said, aware of your unconscious biases, that can be helpful too while you're trying to be decent.
Yep. Well, it has been an hour and 15 minutes for this show.
And I haven't peed yet.
I know.
And we are getting close.
Daniel's rocking back and forth.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
No,
Thank you for coming on.
As always, please.
I will
Really
post
appreciate
the rest of the trivia questions, and I will answer them, and we will put them on our website where we have all these shows also, as well as on our YouTube. Yeah, there's like a whole, we have show notes. Well, we could. If I was better at making
we could.
If I was better at making the show notes, we could have show notes. I'll go back. I'll start doing that. I'll take a week off of work and I will work on this.
Love your hard work.
Awesome.
Well, Melissa and Lucy, thank you again so much for joining us. We
Look
really
at you with
appreciate
your
seeing you
blingy.
guys
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good
guys.
dad.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on.
anytime. And good luck out there tonight. I apologize.
Yeah.
All right.
Bill, you got to take us out. I got to pee so bad.
No,
is
yeah.
15 minutes.
I'm
away.
totally fine with skipping the rest of what we have.
Are you sure? I got to pee.
All right, guys. Well, happy Pride. Happy episode. This was a great episode.
Absolutely.
Next week, we're doing America's favorite beers. So bring on any beer that you like.
Budweiser, Natty
Any
Light,
American.
Miller
Yeah.
Lite.
We'll post about what we're drinking.
Michelob Ultra. You bring those beers and you come join us.
Just drink any of them. And we're going to rate them, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Other than that, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you check out our beer drop, Tavor, all our Untappd, our
And-
Instagrams.
And let's thank Hop Culture and Sam Adams for putting together the Queer Beer Box, which is
Super
where I
great
got my glass, too.
Oh!
I got a Queer Beer glass.
Oh, you want a glass? No, it came.
Yeah.
Came
No,
with
it was an extra thing I got. I wanted to be part of that.
Oh, I don't know if I got one then. I have so many glasses.
No, it didn't come in the box. It was a specialty after.
I got this. I did buy this. I have a Pride fanny pack.
It's where she keeps her things.
It is. I almost had it, and I was gonna like pull a beer out of it, but I couldn't quite figure out how to like. I had to like wear it like at my boob.
Which is not going to work.
No.
No.
All right, guys.
Hey,
Great
Cheers.
episode.
happy
Cheers.
Pride
I'll
Month, everybody. Thank you guys for coming by.
Thanks for
see
watching.
you next week, 8 o'clock.
Yeah. If I'm alive.